Leadership and presence. You probably have leaders who you see quite frequently, or maybe you are a leader and you think you are present or you should be present. And maybe you wonder, why are some people so present and I see their name everywhere and I am not? And the question is how to make it happen. We have an expert on the matter with us here today. Hello and welcome, Andres Prilloltensky.
Hi, hi. Happy to be
Thank,
here.
thank you very much for taking the time. And let's get straight into it. When we talk about leadership present, what in your definition is the leadership presence today?
When we talk about leadership presence, I think that we are referring that on companies, there is always the strategy of founder-led growth, basically giving a lot of resources to the CEO. But on big companies, even medium companies, and even small companies, you have a lot of experts and
Hmm.
not using their voice to first of all give them a place for personal brand, but that personal brand actually pushes the company and increases their trust. So
Yeah.
that's very important in today's world,
Hmm.
I
So
believe.
when people now say, okay, so I want to be present, so I think I go on LinkedIn and post something there. So that's leadership presence then, isn't it? Or what do you think about when people say, yeah, I think it's all about just posting on LinkedIn. Is that the whole deal?
I don't think that that's the whole deal, but that comes to be the core essence of being present. Okay,
Hmm.
sharing their own authentic ideas, their own opinions, their track records. That's like the core of it. And obviously, you need to empower that by side. I would say side things such as podcasts, like in the same thing that we are doing right now.
Mm. Excellent. When you now say put their authentic selves out there, this is usually where the organization sits and says, wait. The authentic, okay, look, we have a committee and a marketing program. We have a compliance department, a legal department, and the HR. So every post you do has to be, in our words, run by 4 people, signed off by 3 people, and then you might put it on there or not. So it's basically going through a lengthy procedure because they're all so scared what could someone else just put out there which we might not agree on? What's your take? How can we be authentic when at the same time organizations say we're so scared of doing anything wrong out there that we basically say rather put a lengthy progress or process of ticking boxes before any LinkedIn post in place?
That's a great question. So I see it from different angles. First of all, is that companies are afraid because they are not seeing the full, let's say, the full view of it, and yeah, they are afraid if there is, I don't know, a CPO suddenly posting something on LinkedIn or in public companies that some posts, even the small one, can affect the value of the stocks. That's like a very big fear, and I understand that. And from the other side of things, it's a matter of workflows. How can we
Hmm.
help that people or those experts actually write about their authentic view on a messaging that is aligned with the company? Okay,
Hmm.
or if the company can apply some kind of brand guidelines, try to avoid them of doing that mistake. Persons can
Okay.
still be authentic without harming the company, and the companies can apply some kind of guardrails to keep that
Hmm.
safe and for a long-term process, not just for one post, because
Yeah.
basically you cannot do anything with one post.
Yeah, exactly. So, would you say that when you have guardrails in place, people should freely be able to use LinkedIn as they like within these guardrails? Or would you say, no, put the process in place, 8 eyes have to look at every post before it goes online? What would be your preferred approach?
So I would go actually from both. I would say that let's start from giving the people inside of the company some kind of of guidelines. Okay, speak about what you want, what's the message that you want to do. Try to avoid these things. This is actually what we try to do in Nuvox from a technological aspect, giving the company a control panel in which they can apply guardrails automatically, and still giving a tool for the executives, let's call it,
Hmm.
a way to write safely with their own ideas. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we do. We connect between both of them.
Excellent. And now, of course, when they say, hey, I have an idea how I can get, let's say, safe writing, and then someone says something with AI. So let's just say people say, oh, AI is just about creating text, right? I say, oh, I have this idea write something. And you hold expertise on the gap between generic AI tools and what people actually need in order to create meaningful content. So, what, in your opinion, is this gap and how do we deal with it? Because most people just say, look, I go on Claude, ChatGPT, Copilot, and say, look, could you please write 300 words on something with sustainable employment? Copy, paste, here we go. So, what is your take on the gap we see here?
So the gap of going directly to Claude or directly to OpenAI or whatever tool that you are using is that it doesn't really build a strategy connected to the goals of both the executive and both the company. And that's maybe the biggest gap. How
Hmm.
can you actually come to LinkedIn or come to any other social media in which you want to be visible and build a strategy? That's the expertise that we bring within Nuvox, or from my previous experience, that's the kind of the gap that we are trying to mitigate.
Hmm.
Because content, everybody can write content. Yeah, content is not a problem, but which content is actually going to work, that it's connected to you, but also to the best practices of whatever channel that you are posting on.
Yeah.
That's the gap. How can you address that strategy in a way that it's not from time to time and sporadic and just break it? How can
Yeah.
you actually do it constantly, being authentic, giving your own self into the AI? What's the ideas that you need to think about?
Mm. Excellent. So when you now say, okay, you can help here, some people will now say, look, we're a startup, or maybe we're a scale-up if we're a bit luckier here. However, we are still thinking, where do we spend money and where do we not spend money? And of course, many people say, oh, you get an investor here, get some money there, get an overdraft there. And many people say the advice they often get from people about startups is often coming from rather privileged backgrounds, and many people who give advice on that are not bootstrapped startup founders by themselves. You are, according to my research, a bootstrapped startup founder. What would be your advice when people now say, look, money's really tight? Resources are even tighter. However, we have to make it happen. We need the outreach. We need to be present. We need to be on LinkedIn. We need to get out there on, let's put it in polite words, a very limited budget. What would be your advice as you've been there and done that by yourself?
Exactly. So, first of all, try to search for tools or solutions that are within the stage that you are with the company. Don't jump over the ceiling if you don't have uh, the possibilities to go with that strategy long term.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason that I created Nuvox, especially because of the reasons that you just said. Customer acquisition costs
Yeah.
the costs are skyrocketing.
Yeah.
The
Well, let's do
ROI,
AdWords. Gone are $10,000 with 3.5 leads who didn't convert. There you are. So,
exactly. So I'm trying to give a possibility to companies with an alternative growth channel that will build the trust for the company. Today, buyers, specifically in B2B, they are already researching about solutions that they have a pain to way before they speak even with the sales of couple possibilities. And in some of the cases, they even already took a decision on which solution they want, jumping ahead of the sales. They don't even interact with sales. So that's the reason. Every startup, doesn't matter if super early stage, already from the ideation, the founders, they already need to start working on creating that trust,
mm,
writing about their own experience, their own pains. And as a bootstrap company, I try to help other bootstrap companies or with very tight budget companies to increase that visibility across the channel if they belong to LinkedIn, obviously.
yeah.
Not every company is a B2B company, and maybe they want just to acquire users for a game. That's less of relevant on this case. But if you are in the industry that you need to create trust, start as early as possible and put resources into it. Doesn't need to be money,
Yeah.
time. Also,
Yeah.
time is a resource, and try to activate that. We are
Mm.
super competitive every day. A lot of startups in the same field, they open. How can you gain that traction or that trust as early as possible?
Mm, excellent. To wrap this interview up, when some people now think, hey, I think Andres can really help us with where we are right now, the question is, where can you exactly help? Just give us a bit of a detail. And of course, when people say, hey, I'd like to get in touch, how can they get in touch with you?
Beautiful. So I can help on the old area of the strategy and the execution. Basically, Nuvox is a self-service solution in
Hmm.
which they can jump into Nuvox, register. We have a free tier at the beginning just for them to start going, and they can directly go into it. For bigger companies, we have a control panel from what we talked at the beginning of this conversation for in which we give them workflows that doesn't break, and we can actually go with that to the long term. And if there are still users or potential clients that still want that touch of a human in the loop, then we have a very exclusive program in which we do the manage strategy and content creation, and we doesn't take any resources from basically from the person itself. It
Hmm.
only requires 10-15 minutes a week, and we come to replace some kind of a ghostwriter with a lot of technology in a cost-effective way. And they
Brilliant.
can reach me on LinkedIn. Basically, that's the world that I live in. So, or through the website, nuvox.com.
Excellent. So we see how to reach out. When you now say, hey, I think we need to do something about our present, you know how to reach out to us at the end of this interview and at the end of this podcast and video cast. There's only one thing left for me to say. Andres, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Niels. It was a pleasure for me to talk with you.